Omicinski, both at 10 and 3. So to make top 8, both these players need to win this round and then likely win next round.
Yep.
We start on Gill, red-green Ponza. Starts with Arbor Elf. Being on the play for game 1 seems pretty big for him here.
Huge.
For Omicinski, it is Black Leaf Cliffs into Insolent Neonate. If you haven't seen this deck this weekend, it's great. Quite powerful. Harrison Gill plays a basic forest. If he had a Blood Moon in his hand,
a Utopia Sprawl or a red source naturally would have got him there.
And look at this, Insolent Neonate sacrificed, discarding a Dredger and dredging it. I believe it was Stinkweed Imp. Yeah, he dredges 5 there. And Harrison Gill on upkeep is going to beast within Omicinski's only land. I like it.
This is just good, wholesome, clean magic on both sides.
But the best part is Chris might not even need the land.
Yeah.
Right? Look, he's just going to dredge Grave Troll. Sure, whatever. Narcomoeba, Bloodghast, both put into the graveyard.
And for the dredge deck, a lot of times you want to get up to 3 mana to flashback Faithless Looting, but in some of your games, that's just not even necessary.
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
Depending on how your dredges go, you can just Bloodghast and Amalgam without having to do too much.
Thanks for the 3/3. Omicinski will play a Stomping Ground, get his Bloodghast back, and just pass the turn.
Hey, he's got 6 power on the table now. 3 of it was a gift.
He'd sack a land for a 3/3.
Yeah. Would have preferred to dredge a little bit better. Some Amalgams would do a lot to improve this board. Not a lot is being added by his deck. It's not cooperating as well as it could.
All right, so Harrison Gill draws Windswept Heath, and now he's going to shock for Stomping Ground, and I think we may see a Blood Moon on turn 3 here.
Yeah, this is just not the matchup where that's very exciting, but I imagine that's the play that we're looking at.
I mean, on the play, right, turn 2... Yeah, Blood Moon. So turn 2 Beast Within, turn 3 Blood Moon. This is what Harrison's deck does. I mean, if it's not good enough, shucks. But I don't think he does anything better.
This turns off Haunted Dead. There's not a basic swamp in the deck for Omicinski here. So that is an element that is being turned off, though the Bloodghast and the Prize Amalgams, the way that you're playing with those cards just shrugs off Blood Moon entirely. You're casting Insolent Neonate, you're casting Faithless Looting, you're flashing back Conflagrate.
Here's a swing for 6 from Omicinski, puts Gill down to 11. He dredged a Grave Troll during his upkeep, and it looks like he got 2 more Bloodghasts out of the deal. He's going to...
Conflagrate for 0.
He's going to just discard the Conflagrate. Okay. He didn't have a land to trigger the Bloodghasts, so that's a miss for Chris.
Yeah, true.
Now we go back to Harrison Gill. This looks like a Primal Command. We'll get confirmation here. 5 mana. Might just go for some big life gain. Oh, he can... Whoa, wait. There's... The mode on Primal Command that we never use is going to be used here. I forgot about this.
Shuffle your graveyard into your library.
Target player shuffles their graveyard in? Oh my goodness.
Put your Stomping Ground on top of your deck. Shuffle your graveyard into your deck.
Well played, Harrison Gill. He's leaving Chris with no lands and no graveyard. All right.
As far as haymakers against dredge that we have seen through the course of this tournament, this is the most explosive play that we have documented to this point.
So this is funny. So when I saw him play this card, I thought he's going to gain 7 life and get a Thragtusk. Turns out he's going to pick neither of those abilities. He's going to pick the other 2. And I think he's better than I am here because I didn't even see this. puts Chris's land on top and shuffles his graveyard away. So Chris's hand is nothing.
Yep. He still has to face down a non-zero board presence, though an Inferno Titan will clean this up in short order.
Right, he has 2 mountains because of that Blood Moon. Yeah, Chris will play a mountain and swing for 6.
That Wooded Mountain.
Yep.
Mountain Foothills.
Yeah, his hand does not have Faithless Looting. It does nothing. Draw for Harrison Gill. Stormbreath Dragon. He passes. He's at 5.
Yep, that's on blocking duty.
Chris cannot sacrifice that. Yep.
Caught quickly.
He wanted to.
Yeah.
I don't. Yeah, his cards don't do anything until he draws a Faithless Looting.
Well, speak of the devil.
Well, okay. Well played.
He's so good.
If he Faithless Lootings into a Bloodghast here, I believe he wins. Into land and Bloodghast, right? He discards the Bloodghast, plays a land, it has haste, he would win.
Right, it would come in with haste, and then, yeah, that would be for 5 points. The
Well,
post-combat Faithless Looting could be a misstep.
If that happens, if he finds a land and has a Bloodghast in hand, he's going to...
Well, there's a Bloodghast.
But no land.
Right.
Vengeful Pharaoh into the graveyard, and Golgari Grave Troll. Now, does he even want to dredge a Grave Troll? With this Blood Moon in play and one land, does he get anything from dredging?
Not really. He could fill up more stuff they could inevitably bring back, but he needs to find a land to start triggering Bloodghast.
Yeah, can he do anything off single red? How about off 0 red? Stone Rain by Harrison Gill.
I can tell you he can't do anything about 0 red.
So I'm just confused by the dredge here. What can we do? What can we hit?
I think at this point, he's just in trouble either way,
Why,
right?
why are we... Yeah. I mean, I get it. You want to dredge Grave Troll, but I don't... We're not actually playing Legacy. I don't think he can do anything
He
with it.
can dredge and wait until he has a bunch of Bloodghasts in the graveyard, or hit Narcomoebas to make more attackers that way. And then once you have a good number of Bloodghasts, start drawing naturally to find the land to trigger them, all the while putting some Narcomoebas into play.
So he swings, and Chris trades away his last permanence. He's got Harrison to 2, but Chris has actually no permanence on the battlefield. Harrison going for the perfect victory. And you see Harrison's going to pass the turn. He's really respecting those Bloodghasts.
Yeah, well, if he attacks, he's just dead to a land.
So now Harrison, he's looking to dredge, but if he top decks a land, he wins, right? 2 Bloodghasts into play, turn him sideways.
Sounds lethal to me.
Don't get fancy. Yeah, he'll draw. Is it a land? It is an insolent neonate. Nope. We'll try again next turn.
Yep.
And we really hope we're not dead by then, I guess.
Still at 20.
Yeah, now the one thing I want to point out, because I haven't gotten to talk about this for about 3 years on SCG Live, Stormbreath Dragon has a second ability,
Right.
which is really good right now. Inferno Titan, 3 to Chris. And if Harrison draws land, 7, because that happens in Modern. By the way, if you remember this from Old Standard, Monstrosity 3, when it becomes monstrous, it deals damage to each opponent equal to the number of cards in their hand. Chris discarded hand size, so Chris has a full hand.
So it'll be a little 7 points of damage on the ability, plus 3 for the dragon. Yeah. And then that plus the Inferno Titan trigger is lethal.
So what is this? Chris, he discarded hand size, but he dredged for the turn. He just loses now, right?
Yeah, I think he's just dead.
Discards Conflagrate. He needs to draw land. But if he had, I don't know if he wins anymore. I don't know if he has enough Bloodghasts. He'd have to have 3.
And he's actually already dead to the fire breathing on the Inferno Titan this turn.
Even without the Monstrosity?
Yeah, there's 4 red mana available. That puts it to 10, the trigger 13, the dragon to 17.
Yeah. I'm going to have to walk through that because that was too fast. 6 and 4 on power make 10. 3 when the Titan attacks, that's 13. And 4 red sources, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, now I'm there. That's 17.
Yes, sir. And the Vengeful Pharaoh does not trigger until damage is actually dealt to Omicinski. A really weird card.
So that's like on Moto when the screen pops up that says that you win, and then there's this trigger under it.
Yeah, the stack shows up. Things that are never going to resolve.
Yeah, that's fine.
So for Vengeful Pharaoh, whatever combat damage is dealt to you or a planeswalker you control, if Vengeful Pharaoh is in your graveyard, destroy target attacking creature, then put Vengeful Pharaoh on top of your library.
So these are the kind of creatures I like to play because that part in the upper right-hand corner is just flavor text.
This is a card that I know that Glenn Jones is pretty big on. I don't like the part where you have to draw it again. Dredge does a good job of circumventing that because you just dredge something and you don't have to draw it.
I think it's Harrison passing the turn. I think Harrison passed the turn. He may not see that it's exactly lethal. But Chris is going to dredge again, which we kind of have covered. Yeah, I don't know what we're dredging into. Let's check the deck, though. Maybe we're missing something. He's got this Vengeful Pharaoh. He's got 2 Vengeful Pharaohs.
Mm-hmm.
He could dredge in. Oh, he could dredge into Narcomoeba.
Yep. Yeah, Narcomoeba, and that would trigger the prized amalgams.
Okay, so that's his line. He's trying to go for prize. You think he's trying to go for Narcomoebas and amalgams?
Yeah.
All right. I can respect that. I get it. It might be better odds than trying to draw a land, depending on how many he's milled. But now things are going to be harder. Harrison drew a Thragtusk.
Well, that will combine nicely with his lethal on the table.
Here's Inferno Titan for 3 and 6, 9 damage. Chris will be at 8. I think Harrison could have had one more point here if he'd left red up. That's not going to matter.
Nope.
Vengeful Pharaoh will trigger.
This time I would dredge.
Yeah, because if you draw that, you lose.
Yep.
Yeah, so Inferno Titan deals 9 and then hits the graveyard. Yeah, Omicinski's going to dredge as well. So Pharaoh, Rally the Peasants, Gemstone Mine, Faithless Looting, Stinkweed Imp, Life from the Loam. No dice, no game. Green-red Ponza. Here we go.
This is not the outcome I was expecting for game 1.
You know, at first I thought, we were joking. I said, we're feeding more food to dredge. But turn on the play, turn 2, Beast Within, turn 3, Blood Moon, turn 4, that Primal Command.
Yeah, that was brutal.
There's way more game here than I think I gave it credit for.
Yeah, and winning the die roll was, of course, very important to that game plan as well. We saw Gill get down to a precarious life total.
So Harrison Gill, 1-0. Could we see a green-red Ponza deck in top 8?
It's certainly possible.
Okay, I like this. This is great. It's not a combo deck, but I can get behind this. This is great.
Sure.
This is great. All right, we're going to go to the sideboard first for Omicinski. Nature's Claim, Ancient Grudge, Gnawed of the Bone, Thoughtseize, Dark Blast, Memory's Journey. No?
Thoughtseize is the only card that I'm looking at here. I don't want all those spells cast against me. Some of that stuff's kind of good, right?
Do you want Thoughtseize?
I don't really want Vengeful Pharaoh. I can turn that into a Thoughtseize.
Yeah, that's all right. All right.
Yeah,
Thoughtseize.
There we go.
Okay, green-red Ponza, and Harrison winning game 1 is huge because his sideboard's actually pretty good for this matchup. We have 3 Anger of the Gods, 3 Kitchen Finks, 2 Ancient Grudge, 1 Dismember, 2 Sudden Shock, 1 Thrun the Last Troll, an additional Storm Breath Dragon, that'd be his second, a Fracturing Gust, and a Graft Digger's Cage.
3 Anger of the Gods and a Graft Digger's Cage. This is
love those.
Next to Leyline of the Void, this is the most sideboard great stuff that we have seen in this tournament so far against Dredge. That stuff is all very good. The question is, on the draw, how much we want to be getting into the Stone Rain kind of interaction. I like taking out Blood Moon in this matchup anyway, so you can bring in those cards and trim on things like Stone Rain, Beast Within, maybe put in some of these other cards that are just more proactive, Storm Breath Dragon to actually close the game out.
Yeah, so one question I have for you is how much of the land destruction package does Gill actually keep in here? So on the main deck, he's got 4 Blood Moon, 4 Stone Rain, 4 Acid Moss, 2 Beast Within, and that's most of it.
Yeah, well, Primal Command stays in because it actually has good modes.
I forgot about that shuffle. Once I saw him, like, no, we're boarding up to 4 Primal Commands if we have them. That thing's great.
Blood Moon shuts off elements of the game plan unless Omicinski is able to get his basic forest. There is the Life from the Loam package in his deck, so you kind of hit that. I still don't like it very much. You can still do most of his stuff. It won't stop any of his very explosive starts. I really just don't like most of this stuff. And I would start cutting Acid Moss before I cut Stone Rain, because you can maybe cut them off of flashing back Faithless Looting, whereas Acid Moss is just a little too slow.
I mean, I'm not sure that the ramp is going to matter here too much out of Acid Moss.
Yeah, it's too inefficient, doesn't do enough.
All right. Players going to get ready for game 2 here. This is, on the list of matchups I thought we'd be seeing with top 8 implication in round 14, this is probably in, the non-existent territory, but this is great. Second game, Dredge will be on the play. That'll be Chris Omicinski. So this is our first modern event since the release of Eldritch Moon, and it really hasn't disappointed. The next new set to come out, that's going to be Kaladesh. That one comes out in closer than you'd assume. It comes out in late September, and after that, the first major event after the release of the set is going to be Grand Prix Atlanta. That's a Grand Prix run by Star City Games, our own GP. Right now, we're just making the announcement for it. So it's going to be Kaladesh Limited, October 7th through 9th, and we are opening registration for that over on the website at starstategames.com/GP Atlanta. The limited GP right after the set release has got to be some of my favorite events of the year. I usually try to make it out to them.
Yep, just spend some time, do your homework, figure out how you think the new cards play out, and you can have some significant edges over a lot of the competition. And also, playing with new cards, always exciting.
Absolutely. So that's October 7th through 9th. And now if you register by Friday, September 9th, so you have a couple weeks here, but no reason to wait that long. Make your plans now. The exclusive Grand Prix playmat will be guaranteed to players registering before that date. So head on over, sign up, come join us at what is to be a great limited Grand Prix with the newest cards.
Yeah, you're not doing anything October 8th anyway. Come on down. It's not, not Halloween weekend.
You don't have any weekend plans. Come play Magic.
Yeah, exactly. Magic's great.
Harrison Gill with Ponza looks to be on the mulligan. When you're playing against a deck as linear as Dredge, sometimes you start mulliganing to your sideboard cards, but it depends whether that's reasonable. Harrison's got Angers and Grafdigger's Cage, which you loved. How much do you want to try to mulligan to those?
So the big determining factor for that is how much play your main deck configuration has against a deck like Dredge. With Ponza, he's got a lot of stuff that's just not really good. Another element of his deck is Bonfire of the Damned in his opening hand is pretty poor. He wants those all to be in his deck. So there's some elements that really lend itself to mulliganing, particularly in this matchup.
I guess if all his hand is a turn 2 Stone Rain, turn 3 Stone Rain, that just might not be enough.
Yep.
This is some great legitimate Magic here. Chris Omicinski, turn 1, plays Copperline Gorge and Conflagrates for 0. Love it. That means we're just doing really fair things.
Yep. Totally reasonable play.
Yeah, I'll discard this. Go. Turn 2, Omicinski is going to faithlessly loot some great ones into the graveyard. Bloodghast and Prized Amalgam. He'll play a land and say go. This is interesting. So you remember, why did he miss all his triggers? Well, Bloodghast is a May.
Yep. And then beyond that, the fetch land allows him to crack it and return the Bloodghast on the opponent's turn. At this point in time, Gill doesn't have Anger of the Gods mana, so you can just wait to do it on your opponent's turn anyway, and that way you know that nothing at sorcery speed can stop the creatures from attacking.
So maybe just some fancy footwork here from Omicinski.
Yeah, he's just showing off.
He has to do this during Gill's main phase, though, if he wants the Amalgam.
Yep, so the Amalgam will trigger on the end step and not be delayed until his end step.
That means that after he got the creatures back, if Harrison Gill wanted to play a Pyroclasm, I don't know why he would, but he could then play it.
Yes.
So here's a swing for 5. Gill down to 15.
And Gill is gripping in Anger of the Gods, so Omicinski has to be careful not to play too far into that.
Third land is Mountain from Omicinski. He'll play Insolent Neonate past the turn. Back to Harrison Gill. He will fetch. 3 is really where his money cards start. Talked about Anger of the Gods. He plays Blood Moon, Stone Rain. See where he's going. 3 mana, Blood Moon. That's why he got the basic forest off that fetch land.
Yes, and he has a redundant Blood Moon. He picked up a white bordered copy that's standing out in the hand.
Love it. Insolent Neonate will be sacrificed by Omicinski. He discards the Stinkweed Imp and then draws it. Dredges 5, gets a Narcomoeba into play. Did he get any other graveyard value? Looks like another copy of Conflagrate made its way into the graveyard. I think 3 in total are now there.
Yes, redundant Conflagrates, not great. Those are just going upstairs in this matchup.
But here comes 6 damage. Gill is down to 8, so that upstairs player talking about, he's going to have all the red mana he wants.
Yeah. Until the end of time. And, a basic forest. That's a nice pickup.
Yeah. And wow, okay, he's going to start loaming. So if you haven't been watching this deck all weekend, this is one of its late game plans.
Yes. What's interesting about the interplay with Life from the Loam and Blood Moon is he won't be able to play and crack fetch lands. He just has to mill fetch lands and get exactly as many lands as he dredges naturally. Though the Life from the Loam plan, you're dredging more, returning lands, you get a bunch of cards. If you get 3 lands and you're getting them back with Life from the Loam, it gets you more cards in hand for your Conflagrate, so you can do a lot more damage to your opponent.
The gods became angry during Harrison's turn as they swept all the creatures off into exile. Omicinski is going to dredge Life from the Loam on his turn, putting a Narcomoeba back into play. He's got Conflagrates in the graveyard, and Loam is going to start to restock his hand.
Now, if you're Gill, Stone Rain would be really good right now. Take Omicinski off of that basic forest.
It's pretty, I like that. You're saying, yeah, now the Blood Moon's down, we need the Stone Rain too. So this is the late game plan for Omicinski. He's got 3 of these in the graveyard. He's going to have red mana from Blood Moon. He's got Gill at 8. Maybe he can chip him down to 7, 6 with that Narcomoeba. Once he has enough cards in hand, he's going to discard his whole hand and win the game.
And now that Gill's at 8, the Blood Gas in Omicinski's deck are a lot better.
And that cannot be said enough. Omicinski's going to flash back Faithless Looting, dredging Golgari Grave Troll for 6. He hit 1 Bloodcast off the first dredge. Then he dredged Life from the Loam. He hit another Bloodcast. If he has a land, they're both coming into play with haste. The Narcomoeba is coming into play regardless, and so will that prized Amalgam.
And with this much stuff coming in, I like just getting the Amalgam back, even if he has a land, and then waiting to see if Gill has an Anger and following up the Bloodghast attack on the following turn.
Okay, so he's going to play Gemstone Mine. Now we see if he wants to go for the Bloodghasts. Still has 3 counters on it, by the way. They don't do anything. They're checking with the judge on this. The Gemstone Mine still has 3 counters on it. They just don't do anything. One of those weird rule interactions. Yeah, there's the 3.
Yeah, things that happened as the land enters the battlefield still kind of happen.
Yeah.
And we saw Omicinski point to his Bloodghast, but declining the May trigger there.
Good. Back over to Harrison Gill. He's facing down 5 damage. He knows about the Conflagrates in Omicinski's graveyard.
There's a Bonfire in the Damned in Gill's hand, which can deal with Narcomoeba, but then he's just dead to Amalgam plus... Well, no, he survives on 1 against Amalgam Bloodghasts. Because just 2 of them.
Well, but there's Conflagrates.
Yep, not surviving that one.
Oh, okay, yeah. He's going to play Bonfire on 2. It takes care of the Narcomoebas. But not the Amalgam. He needs 7 mana to clean that one up, and he doesn't have it. You know what we needed there?
Stone Rain?
Primal Command. Gain 7, shuffle up his graveyard.
That's better than Stone Rain. I got excited about Stone Rain.
No, I am all about this Primal Command. It's great. I like that card so much. No one ever plays that card in a nice way. And now Omicinski puts a lot of things into play, flashes back a Conflagrate, overkill on Harrison, and we're headed to a deciding 3rd game.
Texture of that game a lot different from game 1. And the games that Ponza is winning in this matchup, they're all about turns 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah. I'm not sure that Harrison is going to win without the help of Primal Command in these games.
Yep. I'm also pretty curious to see Blood Moon in. Omicinski's Basic Forest did do some work in that game. He did have to have that. But there's going to be other games where it just doesn't really matter.
Well, actually, we can't underrate how much work that Basic Forest did. So without the Basic Forest, Omicinski never plays the Life from the Loam. And if he never plays the Loam, he never dredges into Faithless Looting. And he doesn't do anything. I know what you're saying, though.
Yeah,
he stuck a Blood Moon, and it didn't really get it.
That is contextual on his early dredge hits, though.
Right. On a really good draw, none of this matters.
Yes.
Yeah, that's absolutely right.
I suppose it's also true that, you're going to have cards that are bad against the really good draws no matter how you configure your deck.
Fair. So you put in these you can't just have Grafdigger's cages. You put in Blood Moons for the games that you don't have cage, and you hope it's good enough.
Yeah.
On the play, I really do like it, though. If you can go turn 1 Arbor Elf, turn 2 Blood Moon, that's probably good enough, right?
Yeah, the primary issue is that it doesn't interact with the setup spells. There's still enough stuff with just casting Neonate Faithless Looting with just red mana. So It matters sometimes. Maybe it's a point where I board out 2, kind of hedge.
Yeah.
Drawing the second one's always terrible, right?
Yeah. I think it depends on how many other things you've already boarded out first.
Sure.
But I agree that I don't really like 4, but I might play them because, I don't know, that's what I have.
You're playing this deck. You're trying to get people, so boarding out Blood Moon is not conducive to that.
Yeah, it's better than this Acid Moss.
Yeah.
I could see that. Players are getting ready for a third game. Winner here is going to be very close to the top 8. Dredge, the breakout deck of the tournament, and Green Red Panza, something that no one saw coming. Third and final game. We mentioned Grand Prix Atlanta. That's coming out. It's the first big event after the release of Kaladesh. Now, Kaladesh has to be released first. And Kaladesh, the pre-release is happening September 24th and 25th. That's 2 weeks earlier. So, Star City Games, we release custom playmats for each of the pre-releases. And no different this time. Bengali Rai, this is the name of our cat planeswalker, because all planeswalkers and most Magic things are actually cats. Wizards just draws them differently. This is, the true picture of the card. You can get this exclusive playmat at your local game store or at the Star City Games Game Center in Roanoke at Virginia. But if you want your local game store to host this, this is the last weekend to register for an SCG pre-release. So you can contact us at isp@starcitygames.com. That's in-store programs. Standing for that at Star City Games, or you can just find all this info, starcitygames.com/pre-release.
What do you suppose Bengali's intentions are with that fish?
I mean, cats. So you're going to say she's going to eat the fish.
Well, to my knowledge, cats and fish do not have good diplomatic relations.
Sometimes cats just really like to watch the fish. Cats love watching things. So I have a cat, and sometimes I'll throw a ball around and the cat, you'd think the cat would chase the ball, right? But instead the cat just sits there and very, very excitedly watches me throw it. And the cat thinks this is a great game. Okay, so then she'll stand there like, you going to throw it again? I'm like, this is stupid, you're not chasing it. But the cat is having a great time.
Your perception is colored by your opinion of cats. Is the cat watching and having a good time, or is the cat waiting and calculating? Judging.
The cat's super into it, okay? The cat's like, oh, this is great. There's a moving thing. I'm going to watch it.
That cat's going to eat
and watch it and watch it. I mean, yeah, but if it never happens, what's the difference? Right? If the cat just indefinitely is watching the fish, does it matter if the cat eventually plans to eat the fish but just never does? It's the same. This is a philosophy.
I don't know. It depends. Have you seen the film Minority Report?
Right. So can you condemn the cat's intentions if the actions never happen?
Yeah, so in that universe, conspiracies don't exist. You either were going to do it or you weren't.
Right. Unless it's a crime of passion. That was one of the things of it, right?
Yeah.
That's like when the bird flies right next to a cat and it just jumps and doesn't even know what it's doing. It's just like, oh, bird.
Yeah.
Harrison Gill on a mulligan here. It looked like his hand was 3 lands, 2 blood moons, no accelerants. Don't blame him for shipping that one.
No. And this one so far
it's got bonfire in the opener.
That's not what we're looking for.
Yeah, a bit of shoulder drop there. It's not what he wants. Now he has to decide if it's good enough. It is. He'll scry. All right, and we're underway. Game number 3, Harrison Gill versus Chris Omicinski.
And we saw the lovely interaction in Modern where you scry your card, think about whether or not you want to crack your fetch land, and put it wherever. Top, bottom.
I like that.
If you put it on the bottom, you have to pick up your deck, so you just leave it on top and shuffle it away.
Omicinski's draws to this point have been medium this round. We haven't seen anything too broken, but we might. Turn 1, Faithless Looting.
That's where it starts.
All right. Yeah, Grave Troll in the graveyard. Maybe Bloodghast, maybe Haunted Dead. He's got to pick. All right, it's Bloodghast.
Yep, that's a good start. Now if the Grave Trolls find some amalgams on the draw step, can really start going to work.
I love this. Gill kept looks like a 1-lander, but he drew another one and attacks with Arbor Elf, putting Omicinski to 17.
So what's interesting about this setup is if this ends up being an Anger of the Gods game, Gill double Stone Rains himself.
Yeah, you just can't play that. He does have a Bonfire of the Damned in his hand,
yes.
And he has an Inferno Titan in his hand. Omicinski is going to dredge a Grave Troll. Finds an Archamoeba off the dredge. He still has a Bloodghast in the graveyard from turn 1. Now he will play a Copperline Gorge. Here's Bloodghast. So 2 lands in play. Sometimes the Ponza deck is just this ramp deck, right? You could just, if you bust out an early enough Inferno Titan, aren't we okay here? Like that,
Yeah.
like Dredge doesn't beat that card.
Not with starts like this, Dredge doesn't beat that card.
Yeah, I mean, once it's down, once it's on the table, if the game's not over, that's an issue. So Chris's turn 2 play was Life from the Loam. Just got some lands back. He does have a Haunted Dead in the graveyard. So now we're back to Harrison Gill, and he drew another land, so he's at 5 lands. 1 more, and he's going to have Inferno Titan.
Yeah, there's pressure on Chris to
yeah.
start hitting better stuff.
And he has a, what, Bonfire for 1 here, or 2. I guess more damage if it's for 1.
Yeah, may as well just cast it for 2.
This game,
Well, you cast it for 1, and then you attack for 2.
for 2, so it's
You
3,
get more
right? Yeah, you get 1 more
points.
point.
Yeah.
This match has shaped up to be so much more interesting than I ever would have thought. Ooh, he's got something else on top. Is that a Primal Command?
Ooh, it looks like it.
Primal Command from Harrison Gill. We saw it game 1. This is his best card in the matchup. Now, what are his modes?
I'm not thinking this is a gain 7 life game. He already has Inferno Titan in hand, so I like just getting rid of that Copperline Gorge and shuffling stuff away.
Okay, I mean, there's value to all the modes here, right? Gain 7 is neat. I agree. I don't think he's doing that. Yeah, he's still deciding right now. Putting a land on top is good. Finding a Thragtusk is really not that bad. Or maybe finding a Birds of Paradise.
Well, if you're looking for Thragtusk, you just gain 7 life with the card. You can cast Thragtusk. You can't cast Titan yet, I suppose.
So he's doing the same mode as game 1, and maybe that's just the best here. Puts Omicinski's land on top of his deck and makes him shuffle up. That is, at the very least, going to cost Chris a full turn.
Yep. I believe that was the way you wanted to cast that. I'm curious about taking the Black Source over the Copperline Gorge.
Yeah. Do you want to knock him off of green instead?
Yeah.
Well, let's see. Green casts Life from the Loam. Black casts Stinkweed Imp.
Could cast the
Haunted
sideboard
Dead.
Thoughtseize. Yeah, it does activate Haunted Dead.
Swing for 3 will knock Gill down to 12. He did not gain life off the Primal Command. But if Gill can draw a land, he's in business. It's not a land, but it's pretty close. How about Monvuli Acid Moss? And he picks the Copperline Gorge, so he will have the Titan next turn.
Omicinski says, what the heck is that thing?
It's not Primeval Titan, but I'm still loving it, okay? So, blows up the Copperline Gorge, goes and gets a forest, and you can get, it's a forest card, so Stomping Ground is fair game here. Green-red, Ponza. What is happening here? Arbor Elf swings in. Chris Omicinski is going to go ahead and fetch on end step.
And at this point, I think Omicinski's drawing pretty slim.
Goes and gets basic forest. I just want to check out the sideboard here. Nature's Claim, Knot of the Bone, Memory's Journey. Not too much to do off green. Omicinski with a draw. He draws another land. Swings for 3, puts Gill down to 9.
Okay.
He could maybe steal a game with a Conflagrate.
Right. There could be maybe a way to get dredging on the next turn, set up some Bloodghast and a flashback Conflagrate.
Yeah, he's going to cast an Archamoeba and say go.
That one's not going to do
So
it.
if he had loamed those lands back into his hand and then dredged loam, got Conflagrate, I don't know. Anyway, here's what's going to happen.
So
Inferno Titan's going to blow up everything.
Because of the LD, the 2 LD spells, he's going to be a mana shy of actually casting Loam and Conflagrate flashback in the same turn, so he can't do that for more than 8.
Right, because he can only go up to 8 cards off the draw step.
Yep.
Yeah.
He could deal with the Inferno Titan with a Conflagrate.
Okay, well, that's pretty good.
Yeah, he would have to get it into his graveyard, though.
Well, here we go. Land number 3. He's going to cast Conflagrate for 1 on the Arbor Elf. He's got it into his graveyard. Now, I'm going to back you up here. If Chris had not gotten the Forest, I don't know if he can get a different red source. Is it possible that Chris can, on that turn, cast Conflagrate for 0, flash it back, and get the Titan? It would cost him his whole hand.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean...
Well,
yeah.
with the way the game's playing out now, he has a turn. Let's see, what's the Inferno Titan math here?
Yeah.
9, 10, 11, 12, 13.
So yeah.
That's not lethal.
It's attacking. Well, how about another Inferno Titan? Oh my gosh.
Well, now, how many cards does Omicinski have in hand? Because he could get up to 4 mana this turn. And
can he get to
Life
9
Alone,
cards?
Conflagrate, right, that's the question.
He needs to. I don't think he can survive 1 more hit. There's no amount of removal that'll get him there.
I think he can only get up to 8 mathematically, because he's on 6 now. He has to be able to play a land.
That goes to 5.
And then Life from Loam can only get him back up
to 7.
Yeah.
He's going to be too short. And Omicinski counting through it on his own. And green-red Ponza. Of all the ways to beat Dredge, this wasn't... Yeah, let's LD them. That's how we beat Dredge, right?
You give me a gauntlet of modern decks, and you tell me I have to beat Dredge. Ponza's not the deck box I'm reaching for.
Primal Command.
Yeah, that card looks great in this match.
All right, Omicinski's grip of 7. He's at 3. This is game 3. It's the decider between Dredge and green-red Ponza, and it looks like Harrison Gill is going to move on to 11 and 3. Maybe even to the top 8. You know, all these Jund decks that are making top 8, I don't hate Ponza that much.
Is that Ponza's best matchup?
I mean, Scape Shift is probably its best matchup.
Okay.
Or like Tron.
Maybe Tron, yeah.
You know, any of the big mana decks really can't beat this, but Jund can't like the matchup.
Right. Okay, Omicinski's going for something.
For the record, Harrison Gill last round was the player to eliminate Christian Calcano from the tournament as well.
Okay.
This is just shaping up to be his day. Haunted Dead is the play from Chris Omicinski. He's hoping Harrison doesn't see the kill, but he's going to swing and send it upstairs, and that is the match. It is Harrison Gill and green-red Ponza taking the victory, defeating Dredge, moving to 11 and 3. He is now a win and maybe just a draw from the top 8.